Wonderful, wonderful. I don't have a question. I just wanted to put out something. As a younger woman, I believe I was about 10, and I met Malcolm X as he had come into our home. My mother was part of the Nation of Islam. And I do recall going to Chicago and spending a week with Elijah Muhammad and his wife. So,
correct. Congratulations, you're part of history.
But anyway, I just wanted to throw this out, and I don't want no feedback. Just think about it. Okay, you just made a statement about if we continue to. Okay, you said that continue to see ourselves at the bottom, as a black race. Well, I put it this way: if we continue to see ourselves at the bottom, we will always be at the bottom. I like to speak, positive. Hey, regardless of what's going on, the more energy you put into something, that's what you become. So I'm looking at, hey, no, we're not at no bottom. We are ambassadors. We're at the top. We can make it happen. You're talking about history. Okay, we can make this happen. We're not at the bottom, or we're not going to always be at the bottom. So anyway, that's all I had to say. And
okay, and allow me to let me respond. This gets at this emotional level. I think when you look at the data, we're clearly at the bottom, and we've been that way for a long time. And we doesn't mean that we accept that, and we have to ask ourselves, why can't we? Why don't we elevate it? Because the sister earlier talked about the economic losses, and people of our generation remember when African consciousness, when I mentioned the greeting cards and other things, there were stores around, there were hope, we had hotels, we had businesses that we don't have anymore. We have a lot that if you've been around a long time, you've been around since the 60s, you've seen this elevation and this and the dashing of those aspirations and those, that we were going to do businesses, we were going to do this, we were going to do that. Well, we don't do those things anymore. We have lost capacity. Now we don't even have neighborhoods. We used to have 75% of the city. Now we're probably got 40% of the city. So we're facing reality is never a negative thing. In order to save something, in order to change something, you've got to have one foot in reality. You have to call things like they are. Not necessarily call them like you want them to be or that you aspire them to be, but you're not going to change anything unless you're honest about where you stand at this particular point. We're in bad shape as a people. We're in terrible shape as a people. And the question becomes, why? And the question becomes, what can we do about it? Why don't we have other Malcolms? Why haven't we produced our business haven't been successful? Why are our health, our consequences and outcomes are still so terrible and so bad in our community? Why do our problems seem to be getting worse? And to look to Malcolm, there's a kind of an answer there. There's an element that we can understand about Malcolm that will help us answer those and be truthful about those situations. We don't want to be pessimistic. You can't change your situation by pretending that your situation is not your situation. You've got to actually understand that you can't change your situation by wallowing in it, by accepting it, by you have to be positive in the sense that you have to realize that you do have the capacity and operate. But you have to ask fundamental questions. What are we going to do? What is our basic? And I say this all the time when I'm on Carl Nelson's show. Our lack of a common cultural bond between us that has really prevented us. The fact that we don't have our own language, the fact that we don't have our own dress, the fact that we are so diverse as a people, that we don't have a culture. What we have is a style. We call that a culture. When other people come here, when you see the Ethiopians and you see other people come here speaking their own language, wearing their own clothes, practicing their own religion, etc., and they do it in a unified base, that gives them a stronger capacity to work with each other. It creates more solidarity. Out of that, they're able to make more progress. When you look at what we do, we try to take our identity that was created by our circumstance. In other words, we take our present and say, no, our identity started with slavery. When you look at Black History Month, everybody you see that talk about Black History Month are people who did something after we became slaves. You don't see Black History Month people celebrating Africans and African culture and ways of doing things in Black History Month. They're all talking about, George Washington Carver, or they're talking about somebody who did something. And as well as good as those accomplishments are, as great as they are, they still imply that we don't have an identity of our own. That our frame of reference for progress is, in fact, copying somebody else. That is a recipe for inferiority. That recipe will mean that we will never, ever transcend a lower opinion of ourselves. It's a recipe for a sense of inferiority. If all we got to do is copy their culture and we measure ourselves by us copying their culture, that is a recipe for inferiority. And that means that you won't progress. You won't succeed. You won't act alone. You will only, if the highest thing you can be is a copy of them, then you have said to each other that you're not worthy of a separate identity. You're not worthy of working together. You're not worthy of. That's something that we refuse to look at. That's something that we won't look at. That's something that Malcolm did look at. It's something that he tried to warn us against. Being ourselves in a unified way. This means all Black people, not just Black people who live here, not just Black people. We're talking about how do we unify? How do we connect? How do we make progress as a group of people? Those issues have to be addressed. Malcolm attempted to address them, but they killed him because he did that. They assassinated Malcolm because he raised those fundamental questions, and we listened to him. We respected him. We loved him. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying anything more than that.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Mary.
Okay.
Thanks for your call.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. 800-450-7876. Greg's next. He's calling from Upper Marlboro in Maryland. Greg, you're on with Baba Lumumba.
Hey, Carl. Hey, Baba Lumumba. Yeah, I had an initial comment on some of the things that you said. One thing is that the issue as far as between Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm was really about not because of his indiscretions with females, but the age of the females. They were like little girls, like they were 14 years old and 15 years old. So to me, that's pretty significant. I think Malcolm could have overlooked it if they were grown women, but the fact that they were, 14-year-old girls, that was a pretty significant issue. Secondly, you asked why we don't have more Malcolms and people of that nature, Martin Luther King, all that kind of stuff. And I think, to be honest, a lot of people have stuck their necks out for our community, and we let them get destroyed, and we don't defend them. So, to me, that's not a good look. That's not. I've seen people like Steve Coakley, all kinds of individuals who served our community, and they suffered terribly. And the Malcolms, the Martin Luther Kings, their families suffer. So until we get to the level of maturity that we have to start holding people accountable for killing our people and the people who are the sellouts and the snitches, why would somebody want to stick their neck out for us?
All right, that's a good question. Thanks, Greg.
Let me just respond by saying that, yes, this lack of solidarity, which is the word I use all the time, this lack of ability to come together and do anything, whether it's respond to the people who abuse us or help each other when we need help, protect our soldiers, protect our women, for example, protect, whatever we need, accountability within our ranks, et cetera, et cetera. All of the issues are a function of our lack of solidarity with each other. In other words, it's not so much that we haven't done these things. It's because we don't have what it takes to be able to do these things. It takes a common culture, a strong ability to identify with each other. We don't identify with each other enough to create the institutions and entities that we need to protect our interests. We don't see them as our interests. We see ourselves as individuals. That's a cultural issue. People don't want to face that. Other people who are able to do that, they rely on their commonality, their common culture, their common identity to produce the forces they need to actually do the things that need to be done collectively. It is that weakness.
All right, hold the door right there, Baba Lumumba. I'll let you finish up on that. We got to take a short break. Folks, you want to join us? 800-450-7876, discussing Malcolm. We'll take your calls after